Reverend. You know, there was once a bishop who was known to be a sing-song bishop. He would sing everything. He would see him and say, "Good morning, Bishop." He would say, "Good morning, my dear. Bishop, how are you today?" "I'm very fine." But once he went to a church, got in the pulpit, and he knocked the mic, and no sound came out. So he said, "Something is wrong with this mic." And the congregation replied, "And also with you." I'm just giving an apology that nothing is wrong with me. Words from His Imperial Highness Haile Selassie, popularized in song by the Honorable Lester Marley, until the philosophy which holds one nation inferior and another superior is abandoned and discredited, everywhere is war. Until there's no longer any first and second class citizens of any nation, everywhere is war. Until the color of a man's skin is not no more significant than the color of his eyes, everywhere is war. His Excellency Marcus Garvey, who knew the price of ignorance, once said, and this also has been popularized in music by the same Robert Nesta Marley. Marcus said, "Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds." We have been waiting on this book for quite a while. And so I have to quote the prophet Isaiah. "They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." Let us pray. Gracious Father, we thank you for bringing us together for this very momentous occasion. We thank you for your servant, Andrea, who has, under your instruction and guidance and blessings, have produced this book for our use in the future, now and in the future. We ask you to continue to sustain her and those who support her, and cause her influence in this place to bring others closer to your knowledge, the knowledge of your truth. Almighty God, you proclaim your truth in every age by many voices. Direct in our time, we pray, those who speak where many listen, and write where many read, that they may do their part in making the heart of this people wise, its mind sound, and its will righteous, to the honor and glory of your name. Amen. Let us say the word that our Savior taught us. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. Thank you very much, Rev. Honorable Minister Favor Williams, Minister of Education and Youth. My esteemed author and friend, Dr. Andrea Barrett. Shall say my friend cautiously, my guest speaker, Dr. Derrick Deslandes. Sir Isaac from the UTech Press in Jamaica. Members of faculty, my good friend Mr. Prince, almost my church brother, working on young friend.
Students, ladies and gentlemen, again, I say a very pleasant good evening. I want to formally welcome you to the launch of this, as you heard from long-awaited book and long-awaited launch, Innovation Policy Formulation for Socioeconomic Transformation of Developing States. Now, I'm Leighton McKnight, and I will be the chairman of this evening's proceedings. My claim to fame is that I've known the author when we were teenagers. I won't tell you what year, because some things may not be lying. So let me just say we were teenagers together. So I know her not even from way back, from ways back when. So for me today is a proud moment for her to launch this such timely book. Of course, you know, the essence of the book is about inculcating an innovative centric culture for developing countries. Up in our country, Jamaica, I mean, we cannot say that we are not badly in need of development. If you were to look at the gross domestic product, GDP, gross domestic product per capita, in the English-speaking Caribbean, we in Jamaica, we are certainly at the lower tier. We are just about 6,000 US per person per annum. If you were to look at in Guyana, Guyana is on the rise at 18, that's 3 times ours. Barbados is like 20. Trinidad is like 18. And even the, you know, St. Lucia's of this were like 11, 12. So obviously, you know, we need to step up production by being innovative. Recently, I was in Ghana, and I was surprised. They are a little lower than us GDP, but in Ghana, all the commerce almost is done on the cell phone. You pay your help, you buy gas, everybody using your wallet on your phone. Technology innovation. So obviously we have some ways to go, we have to get here fast and where it's moving. So this book is a catalyst for us to point us in that direction. And I congratulate the author on, you know, producing this thought-provoking, you know, piece of literature to guide us on the way along. Incidentally, it's what? It's maybe the second time Brother Prince I'm here in about a month and a half of a book launch for a friend. I promise you, sir, I won't be back next month. Thing is getting education is so key, and you know, it's ironic. I heard Rev gave a story, I give one too. I don't know if you know in the days, and Brother Cook long time I say I have to pay my respects, right? Because you know, you have influence and I don't want to be uninfluenced. But I don't know if you know, mongoose came to Jamaica. They came back way back in the sugarcane days when, you know, they were used to get rid of rats and snakes in the sugar plantation. So they were imported. But this sugar plantation, and I'm just talking about education, wanted to import 12 mongoose. So it's putting the order together and you wrote, please send me 12 mongoose. But then he says, what is the plural of mongoose? So he crossed all the 12 mongoose and said, please send me 12 monkeys. But then he said, I didn't turn right, cross it up and said, send me 12 men goose. That's the other song. Cross is out again. I said, send me 12 mongooses. Then to solve it, you know what you do? Send me 1 mongoose plus 11 more. That's all the problem. So in these days, you have to think outside of the box. That's exactly what this plantation owner was doing. Now, I'm going to move on with the program. Sorry, I'll just slightly get started, but you know, those are things that fly here in Jamaica, we make it a bit fly. So fasten your seatbelts and we're going to go. So, the publisher of the book is the UTech Jamaica Press. They have been around, I think, since November 2018, and encouraging research and publication amongst faculty and others up here at UTech. So they are really making name and the man. So at this point in time, I'm going to ask, the manager to come and show off about his printing house, Dr. Paul Ivy, to come and give a few remarks. Welcome, Dr. Ivy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Honorable Minister of Education, Mrs. Favor Williams, Reverend McIntyre, our guest speaker for this evening, Dr. Derrick Deslandes. Also want to recognize here in the audience the acting dean of the College of Business and Management, Mrs. Akinda Asia. Also the head of school, John Duncan School of Leadership, Ethics and Entrepreneurship, Mr. Prince Graham Haynes. I also want to recognize all the friends and family of Dr. Barrett who are here this afternoon to give her support, as well as colleagues of Dr. Barrett who are here, and our students in the audience as well. And also, of course, I have to recognize our esteemed author and my colleague, Dr. Andrea Barrett. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome and good afternoon. I also see I had intended to recognize her later, but she has such an important role that I have to do so now to avoid the problem. She's a member of the advisory board of the press, Professor Hilton, who is yonder there, Professor Camilla Hilton. And I see also another colleague, Mrs. Nelson, Sharon Nelson, and of course, Mr. Matthew Blake, son of Dr. Barrett, is here as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to give a mongoose or a monkey's jokes, but I am going to say that I know what it is to give birth. And let me quickly say, to give birth to books. And I will explain a little later. I also want to get into my remarks now formally by saying that a university is involved in trafficking, actually. In the trafficking not of people, but of ideas. And what we have here is an instance where we are going to demonstrate the trafficking of ideas as are contained in this book. So, in relation to this trafficking activity, the University of Technology Jamaica Press was established in February of 2018, as our chairman mentioned, as a unit under the office of the president. And the president at the time, whose brainchild the press was Professor Stephen Bassian. And the goal of the press is to promote research and publication, primarily among the UTech community, by providing an avenue, a vehicle for the academics and other members of staff to publish the results of their scholarly activities. The specific objectives are also to further enhance the reputation of the University of Technology Jamaica. And in that regard, it is to be recognized that most of the established and reputable universities around the world have a press. And so in that regard, UTech has joined in that tradition of having a press. And also, to contribute to increased research and publication in all fields of study. There are 8 academic units at our institution in various disciplines. And the intention, therefore, is to have publications that correspond with the disciplines of these 8 academic units. Also, another objective of the press is to promote a culture of publishing. You know, we have been libeled, defamed as a people for having an oral culture. So we want to put a light to that by having and engendering a culture of publishing. The governance of the press is overseen by an advisory board. And that's why I made mention of Professor Leighton, who is a member of the advisory board. And this advisory board is chaired by the president to indicate the importance of the press in the institution. And the manager, yours truly, who is responsible for the day-to-day operations of the press. The manager is assisted by a publishing assistant, who is Miss Grayson Black, right there in the red cardigan. And here it is, I was about to say sweater for them. Cardigan. Yes, Miss Black assists me with the activities pertaining to the press. So then, as it relates to the trafficking thing, since its inception, the press has published 11 books since 2018. And you would have received in your, together with your program, the catalog of the books that were published by the press. You have it. And I want to just briefly mention that these 11 titles you see here, they are all available on Amazon and other leading online platforms. Barnes & Noble, Amazon.com, in paperback format. They are also available on Book Fusion in the ebook format. And the situation is that the ebooks, they are about 50% of the cost of the paperbacks. So from an economic standpoint, and also from the standpoint of technology, you can, as it is now with all these devices that exist, have all of these books on your cell phones in ebook format, wherever you go without lugging around hard copies with you. So that facility is available in the sense that the books are available in ebook format. I want to quickly mention the titles. Time will not allow me to go into any details of them. That's why we prepared this for you, where you have the blurb to indicate the contents of each of these books. But what is to be noted is the range of these books in terms of the topics covered. And not only that, the relevance of the topics that are covered here. And so, as we're here today, we're talking about innovation policy geared towards developing states such as Jamaica. And what you will see, as is indicated here, the dynamics of Caribbean tourism. I mean, we are so reliant on tourism as an economy. And it so happens that the editor of this book, Professor Sinclair Mirage, is right over there, sitting quietly there. He edited and marshaled the book, The Dynamics of Caribbean Tourism. You want to give her a round of applause? And there are the others. The pharmacy. What Dr. Brown-Myrie and her co-author did with this particular book was that they documented the history of pharmacy education in Jamaica, starting from apprenticeship to the point where we now have graduate programs at the doctoral level in pharmacy being offered here at our university, and so on. And we go through all of them, as you can see. Now look at the fourth one to my left there. The best Caribbean foods to prevent chronic diseases. I mean, we have a burden of NCDs in our country. And here we have a book produced by Professor Fitzroy-Henry and his co-author. Professor Fitzroy-Henry is a leading authority on public health nutrition. In fact, he chaired Minister Tufton's task force on NCDs. This is the caliber of person who have authored these books. Professor Golding surveyed the first 21 years of the 21st century, and it's cataloged there as well. And what do we see here? Professor Steve Bassiani, he initiated the press and he published through the press Caribbean essays on law and policy. Of course, we know Professor Bassiani is a leading authority on international law. So there we have it as well. Universities, student life and living. What are the critical issues that affect students' academic performance at the university? Based on research, psychosocial issues, the level of hunger. What about matters to do with drug use and so on and so forth? What about violence, interpersonal violence and all of those type of things in a campus setting and so forth? What are the factors in the university space that affect student learning that has been cataloged here? Now, through a memorandum of understanding with the Agency for Intercity Renewal, Inner City Renewal, Dr. Henry Morgan penned this book through the UTech press. And what it actually is Dr. Morgan reporting from the trenches, his trench town journey, in lessons in social entrepreneurship, in terms of what are the different strategies and approaches that can be used to turn around inner city communities, transform them into winner cities. And so that has been cataloged in that book. The COVID-19 pandemic has spawned another epidemic, which is mental health issues. And here we have this particular book that was also produced by the press, Preserving the Mental Health of Caregivers. Mental health considerations, I gather that in that field they are now calling not caregivers, but carers. And so preserving the mental health of carers, we have done that. And then as we go towards the end there, the Jamaican public health system, history of the public health system from the 17th to the 21st century. This particular book has the distinction of being the first book produced by the press, by Dr. Adela Campbell, who is now the Dean of the College of Health Sciences here. So any student or history buffs who want to get an idea of the history of the public health system, this is the definitive publication on that. And Dr. Henry Lewis from the Faculty of Education and Liberal Studies did this transformational challenges in the 21st century, a Jamaican perspective. He looked at some of the critical issues within the Jamaican space, social issues, and cataloged them in this book and so on. So as we see here in my wrapping up, just to say that Caribbean policy, Caribbean essays on law and policy, copies are available directly from the press. Transformational challenges in the 21st century, copies are available directly from the press as well as the other platforms I mentioned earlier. And so too is Dr. Campbell's book, The Public Health System. We have copies at the press. Those can be by direct purchases there and also on the other platforms that I have mentioned. So I think you will agree with me that I have made the case that we are involved in good trafficking, ideas of trafficking through the press. That's what we have accomplished since its establishment. I want to offer up my thanks to the members of the advisory board of the press, Professor Colin Giles, the chair up to very recently, while he acted as president, and Professor Vernon Buchanan, Professor Fitzroy Henry, Professor Camilla Hilton, was mentioned already, Dr. Andrew Lamb, Dr. Marcia Williams, Dr. Martin Shade, and our Chief Business and Finance Officer, Mrs. Marcia Jennings Cole. They have all provided support to me, and they have continued to express their faith in the press, and they're confident in retaining me as the manager. Of course, we want more books and more sales. So I'm hoping that at the end of this afternoon, every copy of Dr. Barrett's book will be purchased. It is to be appreciated that one of the advantages of purchasing today is that you will get it autographed at no additional cost. Of course, I offer my thanks to Ms. Black for the support that she has given, and also the accounting support person, Mr. Marlon Davis. In closing, I want to congratulate Dr. Barrett for her perseverance with the many edits and feedback and back and forth with the various steps in the publication process. You know, it has been said that in the animal kingdom, elephants have the longest gestation period. And this book has had a long gestation period. Our chairman mentioned the long-awaited book, and I think Reverend McKnight as well. It has had a long gestation period, longer than elephants, because it has been in the works since 2019. And that's why I mentioned Dr. Barrett's perseverance, because we have had long telephone conversations, sending back drafts to be edited, to be tweeted, to be whatever. But still, here we are. So I have given birth, like I said earlier, and this is the evidence of it that we actually have the book this afternoon. So it has gone through this long gestation period. But here we are today, launching this very attractive, informative, relevant, and timely, and I may add, affordably priced book. I want to commend Dr. Barrett, indeed, for achieving this milestone, her first published book as an academic, as part of her academy. So please show, well, you are already showing her support by being here. The additional step is your purchase. And like I mentioned, the autograph is an add-on. I'm also asking you to support the other 10 titles that you see here, in regard to the fact of how they are so relevant. And I mentioned that they are available and you have the flyer with them. I want to thank everyone else who has contributed to the planning of this launch this afternoon. Our chairman has a list of the sponsors and he will be reading them out. So, ladies and gentlemen, the university exists for trafficking in ideas. When we look at the objects of the University of Technology Jamaica, as mentioned in the UTech Jamaica Press, in the UTech Jamaica Act, the UTech Act says in its object that the institution is responsible for or is expected to generate and disseminate knowledge. And that's what we have been doing. Our university is now in its 65th year of existence and has been a source of tremendous contribution to Jamaica's development, and the press and the publication this afternoon is another demonstration and another piece of evidence of UTech carrying out its mission of advancing knowledge and contributing to Jamaica's development. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sir Ivy. And as you can, or you have heard, the UTech Jamaica Press has been doing quite a bit. I mean, when you start the medical, where you say you had experience in Barrett, but you clarify that now. Then you say UTech was involved in trafficking, and you get nervous and get it. Then that was also clarified, you know, but all the way. And you know, I was so happy to hear that it started under the principalship of one of my best friends in Deslandes. You know, because myself and Steve, we were at university together. In fact, in our first year, we formed a political party until all of them ran and won the all elections landslide. Yes, I would tell you some of the electoral practices, but we won. Right? And, you know, I'm so happy to see, you know, that so much is happening with the press and, you know, the country without the better for it. At this point in time, we are privileged to have one of our hardest working ministers in our midst. She went to Harvard, hopefully from Harvard. Trust me on that. Barack Obama and people that go to Harvard, you understand? And, you know, came back to help develop our country. You know, she's a member of parliament and she was at one stage, you know, state minister and minister of finance. And now she has been our Minister of Education and Youth. Off ministry, but she managed it how we expect her to manage it. So at this point in time, I'm going to invite our Minister of Education and Youth, Honorable Derrick, to come and give her a remark.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Heritage Week. See my ensemble. I was in schools, and I have to tell you, well, I went to St. Andrew Primary this morning, and it was so energizing to see the children in their colors, to be there, to just watch them perform. We have a great culture in Jamaica. So let me acknowledge Mr. Leighton, your moderator for this afternoon, Professor Deslandes, was the main speaker. Of course, the person of the hour, author, Dr. Andrea Barrett, lecturer here at UTech. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me say how delighted I am to be here at this book launch. Thank you to UTech Press for not only doing this book, but letting us know of the other books that have been published. I think it speaks volume to the work that has been going on here. And I know that the university will benefit significantly from the research in the various areas. Researching a book and writing that book takes time, energy, effort, and so I want to commend Dr. Barrett taking on this topic about innovation. It's not an easy topic to write about, but you've done it and you've provided us a good roadmap. The title, Innovation Policy Formulation, really is calling on governments to have innovation policies, to fund those policies, make sure they're implemented so that we can create what Dr. Barrett calls you can create that culture of innovation. I'm looking for the right word, Dr. Barrett, that you call it. Right, innovation-centric culture, which means that innovation is not just one time, or it doesn't just happen to a certain set of people or happen by a certain set of people, but it is sustained over a long period of time. And you have persons from across all different levels of society that can become innovators. We all have ideas, but that is just the beginning point. It's a long way between an idea and an actual product or service. And you need a supportive environment in which to have the full manifestation of that. And a supportive environment means a lot of things. It means having a university like UTech with lecturers, professors who can, have the students in this environment to talk about innovation, to do things on a small scale initially to get their creative minds going, and then to be able to move from there. So I fully understand in terms of what you're calling on government to do. And again, I encourage all of us to read. I'm not finished reading it yet, and I do have my autographed copy, and I didn't pay for it. But I will encourage as well my colleague ministers to read it, because again, it's about encouraging government to really get those innovation policies going in all different areas. It's not just in products and services, in education, it's all over the society and our people. And for us to know that we should employ a formal process to get going on this. Interesting, because there was another book that I read that seems to fully support what Dr. Barrett has said in this book. And he talks about the fact that innovation works, as Dr. Barrett is saying, and that it flourishes in freedom, which is, I think, if you read the book thoroughly, it makes that point. And innovation thrives when people can cross paths, they can mingle and exchange ideas. They can come to the university, they can go to other fora, and by bringing different people together with different perspectives, we can create that culture of innovation. So I want to congratulate you again, Dr. Barrett, for the many long hours spent at putting this together. And I want to wish you all the best, and I will do my part in promoting this book. Wherever I can, like I said, among my colleague ministers, certainly social media is there as well to promote it, so that it is well read and we begin to do the things that you're suggesting in this book. So thank you for inviting me, and I'm going to sit and listen to the guest speaker this afternoon, Mr. Deslandes. He is himself an innovator. As you know, he is the president of the College of Agriculture, Science and Education. And I think during his lifetime, he's done some great things, and this book resonates with him as well. So thank you so much. And again, all the best going forward for this book. I hope it brings all the success that you think it will bring. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Minister. And thank you for reminding us that the heritage is apologize that I'm not appropriately dressed, but I'll make comments. You know, when Mr. Ivy spoke, he spoke about getting the autograph books. Books will be the same price for the autograph. And I don't want to get that wrong, but because in fact, one of the chapters in the book speaks on managing intellectual property. But this signature that is really there, a major piece of intellectual property. So there's a premium and a privilege to get it signed this evening and paid for the book, right? I need to finance them advising her. So I wanted to come write a book, but when I see the caliber, I don't want to bring down your thoughts, so let me leave it alone. You understand? You have to go your place, right? Because you know, I don't know my credentials, right? Into the story, yesterday a police friend I was saying with the story, and it's as it said, and it's again education. So I'm told that one day there was a motor vehicle accident on Master Road. You know Master Road? Yes. So two policemen, a constable and a corporal, went to investigate the accident. So they decided to write the report, but then the corporal realized that they can't spell Master names to say. So the constable is paid. So what you're going to do, corporal? So now we're going to call Sarge. So they phone Sarge across the police station and conversation like this. Sarge, we have a problem, innocent. So Sarge, what's the problem? Police speak up. So we have an accident on Master Road, sir. So Sarge, what's the problem? Speak up, man. So Sarge, really about struggle trying to write the statement. Sarge, what is the problem? So Sarge is on Master Road, and we can't spell Master. But when more the accident is somewhere, I'm having you. I'm top with police time. They are pushing for the box and didn't have the answer, right? Next program, and you're minister speak about this week, is that man from Portland. Incidentally, I was looking at CV. A beer was taking it, but they have some problem in the junction, so we get this CV. But I think I know well enough that I can give you a little synopsis of who he is. So it's a St. Mary high boy. Highgate, you know Highgate? Yeah, that's where I go to school, you know. A bright boy at St. Mary. Then I went to the University of the West Indies, Mona, where I did his degree. Business related management, marketing. He then went to Northwestern University, Kellogg School of Management, where he did his MBA. And to top it off, and to Florida State University, where he did his PhD, Doctor of Philosophy, in tourism and marketing. He has been a lecturer at UTech for over 28 years in Mona School of Business and Management. And at one time, he was head of marketing and international business. As you heard, well, since 2015, he has been the president of CASE, the College of Agriculture, Science and Education over there in Portland. He's a researcher, he's a publisher himself, and an innovator. In fact, at one time, he was seconded to the Ministry of Agriculture to be head of the Center of Excellence for using advanced technology in agriculture. So that is him, right? He's currently chairman of Jamaica Dairy Development Board, among other things. So as you heard, he's an innovator, so let's welcome Dr. Derrick Deslandes, Ultra Secretary,
Yeah, Mrs. Johnson. All right. Well, let me just say first, and I always need to get this right. Honorable Minister Bill Williams, Minister of Education and Youth, which we are part of that industry that really perhaps is the only industry that can capitalize and transform, as Andrea wrote in the book. Esteemed author, Dr. Barrett, lecturer, College of Business and Management. Reverend Canon Calvin McIntyre. Of course, who was one from Casey, right? We were talking about alumni and importance of understanding exclusively. Dr. Paul Ivy, man joined the Jamaica Press, but a former president of the college, I understand. So I had some big shoes to try to step in. Special guest, family, friends, and colleagues of Dr. Barrett, students, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I first want to talk about the importance of the book. It's interesting that when you spoke about going to that was the purpose of my going there, was to say, okay, how do we, and Dr. Barrett spoke about it in the book, we're so far behind in terms of technology, we may not for different sectors. How do we lead from it? And there's no point in trying to get up. You can't. How do we jump by it? And so the proposal was for me to go there to try to infuse technology into the sector and to get the farmers to jump ahead. We're still trying to jump ahead, but I just did a little bit more. But the book is tiny. It is very, very tiny. Why? Because Jamaica has dabbled in bits and pieces around the idea of innovation. We have not embraced it. We have not embraced it conceptually, or not embraced it pragmatically. But it is absolutely critical to moving forward. In fact, the more I think about it and the discussions I've had with Andrea and Professor Carl and others, is that our Vision 2030 requires a national innovation policy as a structural support to give it legs to move it in that direction. Because in order for us to achieve Vision 2030, we have to get all the other pieces right. And the book speaks a lot of that, and I'll talk about it more. It's an important contribution to the literature of innovation. Because in the Caribbean, we really write about innovation policy, and importance of because see, entrepreneurship is underpinned by innovation and invention. Unfortunately, in Jamaica, we don't invent. Let me take it back and say we don't do invention. And I share a small story. At one point in my university career, I was asked by Professor Shirley to go and sit with the professors in the faculty of science and technology. To look at the patents, to see how those patents, that independent patents, could be operationalized. And it took me about a year and I got frustrated. Because lecturers held on to the invention so tightly, so for more than 10 years, that by the time the technology was you were ready to release it, people had already leapfrogged and done. So one of the challenges that we have in the region is this inability. Yes, you create invention, but the process of transforming that innovation into a product that can be demanded by the press, by the public, is missing. That piece of it is missing. And there are a couple of examples I'm going to share that the book speaks to, that give an idea of why we have struggled in many respects in terms of economic development. We have not done investment in some critical areas, but there are a few missing pieces that we have to get right. The impact. I think the book will impact the whole idea of a national system of innovation. Jamaica needs a national system of innovation. We are not short of ideas, we're not short of entrepreneurs, and some of the, for example, the GEM entrepreneurship monitor data will show you that we're not different globally in terms of our ideas and startup business and what I do. But as global data will also show you 65% in some countries of the jobs that are created by small business. And in many cases, small business need a different set of systems and structure to move them from startup to promising business that can generate revenue and generate and create wealth. And that's something that we do some of that with Jamaica JDC, but it's not enough. This is a structure, it needs to be pervasive. And so what you find is that most businesses in Jamaica fall after 2 or 3 years. They don't last long. Because after they get to a certain point, they're not able to move beyond that. And so if you look at other countries in the world, they provide a systematic support structure that is able to move those small businesses into sustainable businesses that can generate wealth, create employment for those people. And anecdotal comment I share with you, in India, when you yourself as a small business, in some cases the Indian government pay your light and water and whatever with those citizens. Really? Just to give you the time to get the business moving up and running. Right? The Constitution. I believe that an important contribution of the book is that it introduces what I regard as some innovative measurement tools that are critical to understanding the conceptual and practical framework of national systems of innovation. One example of this is GERD, which if you're literature, you understand what it is. And GERD basically means gross expenditure on research and development per capita, or as a percentage of GDPs. It's a very important measure. But in the region, only Trinidad tracks this. No other Caribbean country that I've seen actually tracks this kind of measure to see how much money do you actually spend on R&D, whether it is done by the private or public sector, and what is that as a percentage of GDP. In the book, that Barrett spoke about some critical countries in the world that demonstrated and have shown the impact of GERD on their sustainability and economic growth. You talk about Ireland, Singapore, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and my favorite South Korea, which I want to talk a little bit about, which you spoke about in the book. So these tools are very critical because it is not the traditional measure. Because while there are criticisms of GDP, it's important to understand we still have not found a better measure that is comparable. Yes, you can criticize, but until you find something that's really replaces it. But what's important here, what the book speaks to, are those additional measures that can give an insight now into what we do as a country to move the needle forward. For example, the Minister of Finance announced last budget year a $200 million fund for R&D. This to me was the most significant announcement in the entire budget cycle as a researcher. Because what it really signals is an understanding of the importance that R&D, and the book speaks to it. It speaks to the fact that the government itself, the state, has to take the lead in driving support for R&D within institutions and universities and so forth. Why? Because the culture of innovation takes a while to build up. And as you will see, if you look at Korea, for example, after 30 years, the spend on R&D moved to the private sector. So it started out with the government, but as the economy develops and the growth evolves and becomes more sustainable, the private sector now understand the importance because now you get to the firm level competing space. And firms are competing. Now, you do see examples of this in Jamaica. I believe tourist industry represent one example. And having been in the sector for a bit, there are strong criticisms of what some people call the leakage rate from tourism. But to me, that's not as important as figuring out how, in respect of the rest of the economy, how do we extract the value from tourism? Because the leakage rate is driven by what? We have guests coming in. We have 5 million guests coming in. How do we feed them? food for tourism, worker, for the tourists, so to speak, represents the average of 9 or 10 days worth of consumption. You look at the broader data structure. But what's important is that what they consume is far greater on average than the average Jamaican. Because food waste in the tourism industry is massive. Something we don't really talk about a lot. It's actually massive. And the hotels are now using that food waste in the landfills and other things that can actually generate fertilizers and so forth. Some hotels are beginning to do that, as they move to the green content. But the important thing to share is that strawberries, grapes, whatever, it is not impossible to grow them here. But what you need is a system, as Andrea spoke about, that drives that underlying support structure system that allows the small and the medium and large farmers to speak into the tourism sector and therefore reduce the need for them to import. So for one of the major policy framework for the government is import substitution, which I'm very familiar with because I wrote a lot of those documentations at the time as a consultant, because it was important to start to look at these things and start to look at data. We are not a data-driven society. And it's important that we move in that direction, because this is what is going to help us now to move the needles. The point is, and for those who will read the book, I want to look at that Derrick example and compare Trinidad's experience and their economic growth. Right? I struggle to see what Jamaica would look like. But it's something that we have to control that to see what is that we need to be doing. The investment in STEM is absolutely critical, because there's no question about it that the growth, what drives economic growth in the modern world is science and technology. You can't go around it. We do a lot of research and my management, I used to get a lot of stick for making these arguments, but anyway, we don't have the writing about crime and sociology and this and that, whatever. But these things are not moving the needle. You need a hardcore scientific work that will enable our firms to become more efficient. We enable our students to be better trained. So that instead of us buying robots, we build our own robots. We have to create the framework and the structures necessary to bring more people. Because people are not done. They're not done. I can tell you. And I give an example. We sent 15 students to Israel. A very hot spot in the world. And out of a group of 55 from around the world, one of our students was number 2 from the performance. And all our students performed very well. We sent them an 11-month internship in Israel to expose them to agricultural technology and to change the mindset coming out of that case. Because the reality is that Jamaican institutions don't have that kind of technology that can move the transmission, and we have to move to get it quickly. And so, for example, most of the students who came back to Jamaica, they have been snapped up by firms all over. And you're seeing the change that these students are making now in their contribution to the sector, just by the exposure they got from that internship in Israel. The fourth point I wish to into our contribution is the analytics. Data analytics is big business. And we have to now understand the value and importance of data. And the minister understands it. It's data. Every time I people say that you want data. It's data. You can't make decisions based on the feel or thing. That's based on the raw numbers. How do we deal with this? What are they? So people get excited about, this sky is falling. But the reality is that you have to look at the data, and from that data, determine what changes you need to make clinically to address this. And I think it's important that it speaks to that idea of analytics. Speaking, for example, to our SDG goals. Speaking to what we're trying to achieve as an institution, and determine what is necessary to create this entrepreneurial centric society that is important for long-term development. And so I picked out a couple of key areas that I think is important that I jumped out at me and I want to kind of touch a bit on. The concept of an entrepreneurial society. And I want to consider this because there's some important data that came out of the College of Business Management. Very important data. The GEM monitor, which I track because it gives an insight and it provides a lot of guidance in terms of what is taking place at the entrepreneur at the level in terms of startup business. So, for example, in terms of persons that start a business, in 2021 it was 6.5%, down from 9.9 4 years earlier before the pandemic. So you had a snapshot of it before and after the pandemic. This is the people who are starting a business. But the reality is that globally, while Jamaica was 6.5, globally it was 6.77. So there are business startups, we're not far. In other words, Jamaicans are just as entrepreneurially minded as in this country. The challenge, as Andrea spoke about, is the systems and structures they put in place to that transformation, so that entrepreneurial-minded individual can be transformed into a contributing member of society in terms of their job creation. Well, I want you to consider something here. In the United States, 65% of new jobs over the past 17 years were created by small businesses. And while sometimes we get caught up in the large companies, we lose sight of the cumulative value of small businesses. In our report, we talk about the small farmer. Average farmer in Jamaica, 48.6, which is lower than the global average, on 2 acres of land. But COVID or no COVID, they are like the salt of the earth. Their call is providing food. Most times it's subsistence. But the collective value of what they bring to the table is an important element of food security. And therefore it's important for institutions like PACE, for example, to provide the support that we can provide to help them to improve their own production and productivity. And in the book, Andrea talk about leapfrogging. It's one of the things we talk about. For us, what does leapfrogging mean? It means, for example, getting our farmers to start to think through drone technology, how to utilize drones in their production processes. But of course, you come upon a critical piece of what you mentioned in the book. The future of innovation. One of my favorite topics at my PhD program. Because it really spoke to understand the process by which persons adapt to innovation. And you have innovators and you have non-innovators. There are persons in Jamaica and elsewhere in the Caribbean who will try something new just to sake of trying something new. And there are persons in Jamaica that will not try it. You will ensure that you drop on them and they're not doing it. Right? In the literature, we call them laggards. In fact, in one of my previous life, we did some research on laggards. And people ask why we study laggards. Because we want to understand the psychology of why an individual will take years to buy a smartphone, for example. There are Jamaicans who are still walking around with the Nokia, whatever, the old Nokia, right? They're not interested in those smartphones. And that speaks to that innovativeness that you have. So it's not everybody's an innovator. So if you're going to introduce that technology, you need to understand, how do I target? Who do I target? When do I target? Because the thing is that those innovators, and the interesting thing about the new generation now, they are now called social media influencers. The terminology is changing. You have to keep up with the terminology, but also keep up with the technology that is underpinning that change in terminology. Right? So you have to say, okay, fine, if I want to introduce a new technology, this working out. We require some drones, trying to figure out, okay, we know the process, just as Andrea laid out in the book. How do we infuse this technology for the Jamaican agriculture sector? So now we try to identify the innovative farm. The farmer was willing to actually decide, okay, I'm going to take a chance in this drone business. When he said drone, people start thinking, in fact, nowadays, they said drones, people start thinking, you should be a fire gun and all kind of things. The thing about Ukraine and whatever, everything about drone now is about killing people. So at first, you have to try to disabuse the idea, no man, it's something that can be used for the agriculture sector. But no, we know how to say to ourselves, because listen, if we just try to push it as we normally do in Jamaica, you just try to just, you won't get the traction. You have the target. The idea of the future of innovation, as the book speaks of, you have to target the persons who are likely to adopt the innovation and then influence others to try that innovation. So you have to identify farmers, large and small, who are willing to work with you to try the drone. And what we learned after spending so many years in the agriculture sector, when you try to introduce a new technology to the normal average Jamaican farmer, you have to have the old plat right there, sir, and the new plat right there. And you have to show the difference that fertilizer brings versus what that it normally does. As one farmer told me when we were trying to expand for the agriculture production, it's 40 years in do this, he's nothing you can't tell you I have changed in mind. He said, well, here's my son, my grandson. You can't go teach you what you want to teach, but that was my time. So you have that kind of, and so if you talk about transforming and creating an innovative culture and making that central, you have to find a way to get to these kinds of people out there. And there are many of them. It's not 1, 2, 3, or 4. There's a high percentage of them that you have to try to find a way to crack that code that allows you to get into the headspace and demonstrate the value of that new technology. So the point, the first point I want to that we develop a more, I would say, pervasive support system for small business in terms of efficiency, in terms of knowledge creation, knowledge sharing, because as we try to move to a knowledge economy, which is an important part of innovative society, you have to try to provide the information as Dr. Ivy spoke about. You have to be able to acquire, create, share, disseminate knowledge, so they begin to trust the process and the system, right? Because Jamaicans are one of our cultural traits, we are very distrustful of this system to be remain undefined. I don't even know what I mean by the system. But they have all kinds of different reasons. And then this is happened to my granny. Like my mother told me 20, 30 years ago, why she not saying she had Eve and this and she go to one land, worry about energy. Right? And she never went to this because of all of these things that I could not change her mind. After a couple years I gave up. I realized I couldn't. Now, there's another important data point that was mentioned is the Gini index, which measures wealth creation. Again, these are not things that we use regularly in Jamaica. It's not part of our regular dialect, part of our regular speech. But it is important for us that you look at these things as measures of our success or failure. So, for example, in 2004, the World Bank reported that Jamaica's Gini index, and Gini index really speaks to the higher number means that you're more unequal. Lower number means you're more of an equal society. It's a coefficient. It's a coefficient of inequality to measure income inequality, wealth inequality in an organization, in a country. The World Bank reported the figure in 2004 at 45.5. The CIA World Factbook, the World Bank did not have any updated to make no data on Jamaica to find that earlier. The World Factbook data for 2016 was 35, which suggests that there has been an improvement. And if you look at the data, if you look at the poverty data, you'll recognize that there was an improvement in the poverty rate. In fact, poverty rate lowered, right? After 2008, history with the financial sector crash, there was a recovery, and you saw that change. But that's kind of middle of the road. I mean, the United States is 45. Just to put it in perspective. South Africa is 67. The Nordic countries are usually in the 20s, 21, 25, whatever. That suggests that there's a greater level of wealth, income, equality in those countries. Of course, the book also speaks about knowledge economy and knowledge-based economy. These are buzzwords. We sometimes take them as buzzwords, but they have critical underlying meanings. Because if you want to move those Vision 2030, I want to achieve Vision 2030, and knowledge economy is absolutely critical. In fact, it's a necessary condition to that kind of shift. Because if you go to Vision 2030, you recognize that what it is actually saying that we want to move to a society that is knowledge-driven and knowledge-based. The book spoke extensively about national systems of innovation, and this has been of interest for a long time. And I want to share something that I've actually written, put down. That technology-related analysis is traditionally focused on inputs and outputs, and less on interactions among the actors involved in technology development. These interactions are key to converting inputs to outputs. And I guess, and the book speaks extensively to those processes. National systems of innovation focus on linkages that can help policymakers develop new approaches for improving the country's performance in knowledge-based economies of today. National systems of innovation requires fluidity of knowledge flows. Again, coming back to that previous point, fluidity of knowledge flows. You can't have the barriers to knowledge dissemination. You must have an ability to move knowledge across the system, across the board, from different spaces. So that every Jamaican has the ability and the exposure to that knowledge and can use that knowledge for betterment of himself. It's also important that you understand that fluidity of knowledge takes place at two levels. At the level of the codified language, what we write, put on paper, i.e. the book, but also the tacit level, what we share. And sometimes tacit knowledge sometimes what hold us back. We quote our granny and great granny and all kind of things that sometimes don't have no basis in reality. But it's based on those cultural norms, and it's what you're taught over the years, it's now into your belief system. So you end up with tacit knowledge that is irrelevant to today's society. And how do you change the state of your grandmother? And that's one child that we have in Jamaica. We think about, as a child, how you tell your mother that why, what they say in the region. So, I mean, I sometimes do a lot of attack, so I can say it. I say my boy, more your food is that, that makes no sense. But when you that don't get me, you don't get your pussy, But it points to an issue that we have as a society, that we're going to find ways of breaking down old tacit knowledge and creating new tacit knowledge. Because a critical piece of the book spoke about the destruction and the creation. Because sometimes you have to destroy knowledge to replace it. If you keep adding to the old, but you get a hodgepodge and you get confusion. Sometimes you have to just discard the old knowledge and replace it with something brand new. So you can understand and see that this new knowledge is what is necessary for us to move forward as a society. And there's something I want to share. So for example, we have to have a mechanism. And a mechanism must allow for knowledge to be shared across the board. So the mechanism for knowledge flows normally include joint industry research. So these are examples of how knowledge can be developed and shared. Joint industry research. Many of us studied in the United States, in the United States, myself. I went to Northwestern in 1993. And I took a course in entrepreneurship. One of my tasks was to help a company challenge AT&T in the airport with those kiosks. That was when kiosks just emerged in the United States. And so because the nature about university in the United States and business work together, the company approached Northwestern and we were tasked, right? In fact, I suspect the professor got maybe a contract or some work relationship with the company, whatever it is, we were the guilty, and we were sent out to go investigate and research and whatever it is. And we had to figure out, how do we help this company to compete with AT&T, which was then and still is one of the most powerful companies in the United States and the world. And we help this company to figure out, how do I compete with Marvel and with AT&T at the time, in terms of the kiosk business in the airports. If you look now, you realize that those are no ubiquitous all over the place, right? But then it was new, it was emerging technology. And we had to help the company figure out how to do that. And if you look at the way the developed countries, as you know, call them, work, knowledge creation is oftentimes at the institutional level, at universities, and research institutes, and it flows into the private sector. Now, that's a mature market. Because what happens at private sector companies fund these research projects and then feed knowledge back to those companies, which then gets disseminated in terms of books and reports and so forth. If you track, for example, the career of Michael Porter, you realize a lot of his research came from his interaction with companies trying to solve their particular problems. And it's not becoming universal. In fact, Michael Porter did a presentation in Trinidad about 10, maybe 15 years ago. And he looked at he presented on the interconnectedness of Caribbean economies, Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad. And it was instructive. It was clear from the data that Jamaica is in particular, Trinidad not too far behind, operating in silos. So we have industry A over here, so we have sugar over there, so we have agriculture over the corner over there, so we have tourism, and they don't share information. So you develop innovative solutions to solve one problem here, but education is not destined to help the other part of the economy to do the same thing. And tourism for Jamaica to innovate has been tourism has been a state of innovation for Jamaica for 40 years. Globally. When Jamaica started its all-inclusive model, albeit at a time when we had an increase in violence, we took the PubMed model from Mediterranean in Europe, and we created our own all-inclusive model that the world has now adopted. And if you go to many countries now, they have adopted the Jamaican model, essentially, which is that all-inclusive model. And now you're seeing Jamaica now extending that model. If you recall, what happened was that we created what we now call enclave tourism because of the circumstances we face. But now you're seeing these hotels arranging trips for their guests in communities across Jamaica. So you come to the hotel, of course the hotels are making money on it, by the way, it's not free. So they come to the hotel and they sign up for these trips and they go into Portland. They go hiking wherever. They go on these agro trails. They go to St. Bed and they have these wonderful experiences that are outside the normal European and normal all-inclusive hotel. Because the success of all-inclusive hotels, what we call European plan or EP hotels, those hotels are practically dead. But there's an emerging innovation now that's disruptive, which is Airbnb. Right? And you see now Jamaicans have embraced Airbnb to the point where Airbnbs now are driving or own real estate development systems. So the point that the book speaks to is the need to be constant with the technology. You have to keep going, you can't stop. I tell you, you can't say, boy, you're tired, you're going to rest because you're going to be from. And you see, for example, if you look at the work that Sanders has done, Sanders University, you're seeing a company that is keeping abreast driving technology, introducing AI into their training program, those kinds of things. So tourism is an example of an innovative industry in Jamaica that we need to, because we're not extracting much from it. But we need to see how do we replicate the tourism model in agriculture. In other parts of the economy. Because it is clear that we don't lack ideas. What we lack is a system that underpins the development of these ideas so they can help to transform other industries. I want to read something from, because Andrea identified 5 countries, but I must say that I have a particular favorite. Everybody talks about Singapore, but Singapore is never a model that compares well with Jamaica. Because Singapore's system of government allowed them to move beyond the vagaries of opposition, so to speak. The Korean model, Korea has been a strong democracy for quite a while. And the Koreans explicitly codified a national system of innovation. They laid it out. They identified 5 pillars, and I want to kind of read from Professor Sam Park from Seoul National University. And he spoke about Korea's economic transformation was a result of strong intervention by the national government, with particular focus on 5 policy initiatives. One, fostering region-specific industrial clusters. It was delivered. It was left a chance. These comprise of around 4 strategically important industries in each region, the support from government at both the national level and the firm-specific level. Regional innovation councils were used to facilitate development of these clusters. Now, give an example of, so for example, we have roads, or rather tractors. And you have for the farmer that use the tractor, they come to ride with the pay and fee. The riders to find a driver to go and to tractor and plow. In Korea, they have these technology centers. And they create, so they have all these technologies. So they put the farmer in front of a system. Now they use AI tools. But the farmer goes through this, you call it airports, trained pilots. Simulator. And teach the farmer how to use the technology. The farmer then brings takes technology, like Macquarie, whatever it is, goes to his farm, does the work, take back into it. It does a couple of things. One, the farmer is able to demonstrate quickly the value of that innovation. But 2, the farmer is becoming more efficient. Because he employ everybody to do the work. I can tell you right now, we can't find farm workers. They don't exist. And now you pay farm workers $3,000 a day, I'm telling you, you can't get a place of $5,000, $4,000, $5,000. They're just not available. Because they're not working for $3,000 and $2,000. So the cry of most farmers now is not, they don't have enough farm workers on their farms. And I'm saying that you know, have to look seriously at how do we assist those farmers to move into a technology solution as they move toward managing their farm. So for example, one example of what we have done a case, using some of the tenets of the book, we recognize that Portland is a wet parish than it used to be in Dr. Ivy's time. It's dry as a bone, 8 months no rain sometimes. But Portland can get very wet and very cold. Goats don't like cold and wet. So instead of trying to figure out the grades, we build houses, we house them. And the model shifts now from grazing the animals and then social us acquiring the food and taking it to them. Now what we're seeing, we see better quality meat. And the animals are not as tough as they're not muscular, they can't run up and down trying to find food. And they're serving much better condition. That's one example. And looking at the environment, what can we do? And also looking at examples that are climate smart. Because you know, rainfall and excess rainfall and drought varieties are issues that animals face. So we are trying, as we speak, to incorporate these things into our own practices. The second point was made by Dr. I know you can do another answer, but I will finish. Dr. Parker. The second was the creation of environments conducive to the fostering of entrepreneurship and innovation. In other words, again, the book is spot on. You have to create the right environment for entrepreneurial activities to thrive. What does this mean? I mean, a lot of it is done. There will be some pieces, but I think what is important is putting it all together and disseminating information. For example, how many of us know that the government has a program for businesses called a productive incentive relief? How many of us know that? What does that mean? It means that if you're a business and you register, you go to customs, they demonstrate the efficacy of the business. You can bring in the items to support the business duty free. At least you only pay GCT. But compare the GCT plus the duty, I can tell you this, that is rough. How many people know that? So there are tools that are out there, but that it's not disseminated because the environment that disseminated is not available, and that's part of what we have to start. And I think in one respect, that's what institutions like ours have to start to look at, taking that basic information and helping to move that division along the value chain, people understand those opportunities. So, for example, they created a business environment that encouraged new business formation. We spoke about that earlier. That Jamaica was not short of people to start new business. They started already, they just go survive for it. Creating stable, transparent legal systems, improving access to financing. This is a very sore point. Anywhere, any business in Jamaica will tell you. And you know what's again. Most people, when they go into a financing company, they borrow money, they trade with them. The likelihood of success is very low. I can tell you, for example, that agriculture gets 2% of the loans provided in the system within Jamaica, 2%. And of that 2%, 89% of those loans are taken up by a single category of farmers, poultry house farmers, who can spend 90 billion to build a poultry house. Those persons will get the loans, but the average farmer is not able to access loans. So what the Koreans did was provide a system of support that encourages private sector and public sector to provide the underlying financial support so the farmers can get, so they call small business could actually grow. That's right. They also created R&D centers that assisted small business to grow and help the economy. The third point, they call it the enhancement of a collective learning process within the innovation networks. So they include, for example, strategies such as removal of legal and regulatory obstacles to inter-firm cooperation. So they create that, they remove the barriers that sometimes prevented institutions from working together. Sometimes these barriers are not created by the state or by laws. They're created by the mindset of the institutions that operate. For example, you have UTech, you have UTech, you have kids, you have CMU. We are all going funded. We collaborate. No. When you are coached sometimes, and I come from UTech, I can tell you, you talk about collaboration, it's usually they're looking down at you, you're arguing around here, so we are just involved for this. Please, don't waste my time. Or, we're not collaborating with you, but I want you to support my program. So that's not gonna work. And I'm not seeing myself as an inferior being to you. We're equals. We're operating a system that collaboration could be much greater. And there are all kinds of avenues of collaboration. Today, for example, we are in a discussion with Tuskegee University because we're in establishing our own veterinary science program, whether by collaboration or by ourselves. But if I make it that we have approached Trinidad, you look like Trinidad, you're supposed to look like Mona. The point I'm making, we're not recognizing and understanding it's the same pool of money. And therefore, our goal and responsibility as institutions, and again, the book spoke that so simply, is that we're responsible to disseminate the knowledge and the shared knowledge. Shared knowledge also means collaborating among ourselves to create more efficiency in the use of the government funds that we get. So these are some critical areas that shaves off, may not shave a point of the GDP growth, but cumulatively, these are the kind of things that reduces the impact of the GDP performance. The fourth point, again, the book spoke to this, building up a stock of social capital. And they facilitate the active engagement of non-government organizations, churches, to conferences, networking, workshops, seminars. So there's an active program to engage with non-governmental sector because of the recognition that you need all the pieces to work together in order to achieve. And finally, the promotion of local and global networks. Now the book speaks to regional, the idea of expanding the frontier to creating these regional systems of innovation. And that was one of the points that was raised by the Koreans, one thing that they explicitly developed. A framework that allowed them to cooperate with Japan, with Singapore, with China. Remember that ideologically, Koreans and the Chinese are not in there. But in terms of technology and business, they have certain commonalities. Sometimes in the region, we have to look past the petty nonsense that we get caught up in. But, as we are coming from Yellowblind, if you say small island, everybody knows it. Of course, we all tiny small island, so you get the glass scheme of things. When you say small island, St. Lucia get upset here. Then not just upset, really mad. All right, how many cans, because, the thing that we're looking down at them. Right? And maybe, back of our mind, we're really doing that, We can answer listening to you and you, say, you just want your trans and forth. But the answer that plays out at the national level. What we're saying is that if we're serious about building and working and curriculum working, there has to be an understanding and a need for working together, not necessarily at the going level, but at the individual and firm level. What is missing here in the Caribbean integration, Andrea, is the absence of firm level cooperation. How is it each other's competition? I spoke about different impacts. I know I don't want to worry longer because I am not an academic, I can create long. So this I'm gonna rust. I just want to make two big points. It's important, colleagues, to understand, and the book speaks to it. I think it's something that we need to really push. I'm hoping, Andrea, that this publication will catalyze the conversation around the idea of building and creating national systems of innovation. It is absolutely critical because, colleagues, if we continue to approach things that we are approaching, we're going to continue to move in silos, and we're not going to get the benefit of the cooperation that they unlock. The synergies have value. And I keep, when I used to teach back in the day, I was teaching not too long ago, I used to remind my students that Toyota and General Motors were fierce competitors, collaborate on the development of vehicles and engines, so they share engine and know-how and knowledge, and they compete in marketing, they compete in the marketplace, where they share resource and R&D. That's the point that I think we need to start to get a question. And I just wrap up by just speaking to, I was going to give you 2 examples, but I think we can get an answer. You want me to share it? Quick one, 5 minutes. There are two examples that I think points to our failure to utilize what the book speaks to in terms of the future of innovation. First one is the use of tissue culture technology. Jamaica had tissue culture technology 40 years ago. In every other part of the world, the production of clean plant material in a laboratory setting that enhances your productivity and production is a critical piece of the development of these sectors. In Jamaica, we have gone completely dormant. Our farmers are not willing to pay for it, and we can't get the funding to build it. We can't. It's not a cheap technology, but it does cost money. But if you produce the volume, then the cost dramatically reduces. So we have technology 40 years ago, and we have never fully integrated into the sector. The second example, the application of millisecond yam technology, which is a sore point for me. 35 years ago, we developed technology of millisecond yam. The farmers who use the technology agreed that it was they gave a 30% improvement in the yield. 35 years later, we are still planting yam the same way we planted yam 100 years ago. And guess what is happening now? The Codex standards, global standards that is used to control export of fresh produce. They are now attempting to block Jamaica from export of yams because they don't want any yam in the country that is cut. Right? That's that $35 million industry. It's the single largest non-traditional, and it's now under threat. Because of Saturday's technology we have found a way to diffuse it in a way that people can embrace it. So, last point, the book points to an urgent need to formally develop a national system of innovation as a supportive mechanism to Vision 2030, and identifies new and exciting tools to create a better understanding of the underpinning issues and challenges facing the Jamaican economy. And I think if we take this as a starting point and we build on this, I believe that we can really have an impact and really begin to see the value of that of what it speaks to in terms of the growth and development of Jamaica. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Deslandes. At first, I was saying, but it threw me up because clear that you read the book and I read the book. Yeah. But after listening to you, I don't have to read the book because you are so passionate and thorough about what is in the book. I think we all grasp what it's all about. No, I mean, it's silly, so. Yes, so ladies and gentlemen, obviously today is innovation-centric culture. We're trying to foster and inculcate an innovative-centric culture. And if you listen to Dr. Deslandes, he was very detailed and passionate that we need to move the needle by doing some other things. He made it clear that we are not done, despite the dunce bag that they had the other day. And spoke about the student that came second in Israel. And up from recently, I know this youngster, the Shedding Scholarship, my little youngster, who went to the UK, in the multi-international course and topped the class and was valedictorian. So as he said, we are not done. And the issue of data analytics and microfinance, it was interesting that just yesterday I'm a part of a financial institution. And yesterday we're looking at a technology, Dr. Deslandes, where you do your loan application on a phone. You put in the data, and within 1 minute, you get approval or rejection. Because the data can be analyzed by the phone in such a fast time that they rank you from 1 to 10, and they give the loan if you are 6 or above. And that, this whole thing, once you put in all your data, credit score, everything comes in, and guess what? In no time, your loan can be approved. So what you're speaking about is real, and we have to get on the boat before it all leave us. So another round of applause for election. We have an exam of Dr. Deslandes. Right. Before I get onto the altar, I have a saxophonist. So Daniel Jackson is in the house. Yes, yes. So we're going to get a little music for the rest of the time. Yeah, that was refreshing. Goodness of God. Yeah, give one another round. You will direct it. Thank you for a minute. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are getting to that time where we will be hearing from a special girl I knew way back when. Before getting a special person to introduce her, I just want to recognize my sponsors. We want to recognize Joan Duncan for entrepreneurship, ethics, and leadership. And I'm proud that I'm a part of the payment board that we started. Want to recognize Caribbean product producers, provide us with some wine that we will be taking part of later. Law insurance brokers also supporting, and a number of family and friends. And I want to take to say it, but my name not come about me, not the friends. Yes. So our author, as I said, I know from way back when. And those days, you know, I'm at Cornwall College and see that money coming across the road. Obviously, there are certain stories which are not fit for your clinic. And she has asked to sign a legal document that I will not say certain things. At the risk of a major lawsuit, I'm going to keep on moving. But I have a very good friend of hers who I knew from way back when, who was professionally is the coordinator of corporate communications and community awareness at the Tourism Product Development Company. I simply know her as Pedro's sister from when we were in school, but I have to recognize her title. So I'm going to invite Mrs. Manis Stevenson Derrick to now come and introduce our author. Let's welcome Marlene. Thank
you very much, Mr. Moderator. Leighton. Pedro, little sister. Virginia Sims had a marketing campaign many years ago. He said, "You've come a long way, baby." Remember that one? Virginia Sims. Yes, indeed, we have come a long way. Dr. Derrick Deslandes, President of CASE, Dr. Paul Ivy, Associate Vice President for Graduate Studies, Research and Entrepreneurship here at the University of Technology, Reverend Calvin McIntyre. I won't tell any stories this evening, because we'll be here for a much longer time when they will have quite a few laughs, but we're keeping it, as the moderator said, I'm going to keep on my mouth this evening. Okay? Author, and lecturer, an educator, motivator. I have the job this evening of introducing you. It's a pleasurable task for me. But I also want to acknowledge other members of the faculty, various faculties here at the university. I want to acknowledge students, members of the Fourth Estate. Yes, you see one among us. Family, friends, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you for being here this evening. Because if you were not here, then I would have nobody to talk to. Yes? You'd be here. And we wouldn't have this kind of celebratory mood that we're in this evening. The song that Daniel did just now is one that I think is very instructive, and I think it was a special request by the author. And it really speaks to, I believe, how she feels. It is by the goodness of God. Because there have been, yes, it's been long in coming, and there have been many trials, and there have been many setbacks, and it has required a lot to take it to this point. But guess what? By the goodness of God, it's done, it's here, and we, I believe, are going to be the better for it. Now, I'm going to take a little time just to read the profile that's on the program, because I know sometimes we get these programs and we don't bother to read them. Yes, it says, Andrea Barrett, Doctor of Management, DM, is an innovation technology, international development specialist, and a project management professional with more than 35 years of regional and international experience. She lectures innovation, technology, management, entrepreneurship, and project management at University of Technology, Jamaica. Her research interests include science, technology, and innovation, that's STI, strategic policy development for organizational efficiency and effectiveness, project management, public policies relating to technological development, and e-governance for developing states. It summarizes her academic work, I believe, reasonably well. There's so much more that we could say in that department. I don't want to belabor that point, but the truth is, she has worked assiduously all of these years, and I've known Dr. Barrett all of these years. Yes, I won't tell you how long, but it would take both of us, but that's all right. I want to also bring to your attention from the academic perspective, the Journal of Arts, Science and Technology, where I believe volume 15, I was pleased to read in volume 15, issue 2, which was again a special issue on science and technology policy. I was pleased to see that this was the lead paper in that particular publication. And I entreat you, if you have not already read that publication, to take a look as part of the work of the university. And that is part of the reason for the university, to be able to provide the kind of insights and foresight that can move us ahead as a nation. But I believe it was Robert F. Kennedy who said, only those who dare to fail greatly can achieve greatly. And Andrea has had her times of falling over, falling down, but she has always picked herself up. And she's never lost sight of the finish line. I mean, we have had conversations throughout the writing and the editing, and Mr. Ivy, Mr. Ivy have said back something again. Oh. But she never lost sight of the finish line. She dared to fail greatly, and today she has achieved greatly. And I want you to put your hands together for her. Because Benjamin Franklin says, without continual growth and progress, such words as improvement, achievement, and success have no meaning. She has grown, she has progressed, and she has excelled. And sometimes I think because she's so unassuming, sometimes we fail to recognize the greatness of this woman sitting on the front row. And I feel that in a very heartfelt way. Unassuming, but tenacious. When I thought of the words that I could use this evening to describe her as she comes to share her little bit with you. Tenacity, stick-to-itiveness, and a very caring person who I think sometimes feels a little bit too deeply for others, even more than she feels for herself. Her students, I know, mean the world to her, and it is her joy to see them excel. She's been at it for many years, so I'm sure she gets stopped along the way to say, Miss, I bet you don't remember me. Or, you remember this face? You remember I used to give you so much trouble in class or whatever? But I know that that is part of her joy because she's passionate about what she does. So she is really a very genuine and a very caring individual. And I was there with her when London, well, first of all, when UE was a thing. And then when London became a thing. And I remember when she was even going off to India and I tried to give her a lesson in how to use toilet paper because toilet paper was not a very big item on the list in India. You know how to use a little square? I won't tell that story, can I? You don't hear when I'm thirsty. But I was there when she went to Barbados and when she transitioned to the United States, and I mean, she's been into Canada and Korea and all over the place. And she has been a great ambassador without any fanfare, without making too much noise, but always having an impact and holding the flag of Jamaica high, because I know Jamaica is very dear to her and very, very much in her consciousness in the decisions that she makes. Not many people would come back. Many of us have gone and we have stayed. And she chose to be back here to make her contribution and to pay it forward. Because yes, she benefited from a scholarship to the London School of Economics many years ago, but it was always in her heart to make Jamaica not just home by virtue of being born here, but home by virtue of being here to pay it forward, to give back, and that is commendable. So ladies and gentlemen, some other things about her. She is, as I said, passionate for service, but I think that passion is also part of her DNA because she is from a line of educators, and many of us will remember teacher. Yes, our former Governor General, who was an educator par excellence, yes? And he, and so many of his other relatives have chosen the profession of education, of teaching, of changing lives, because that is what educators and teachers do. They change lives. So it is, that passion, I believe, is born out of her DNA and her family being so steeped in education. But my friend, and perhaps many of you would know this, is a bit of a foodie. She loves to cook, always cooking up some storm, trying to find some new recipe. And Carl, who is, I notice these days, he's on social media quite a bit, with all kind of foodstuffs. I need to make sure you have a personal acquaintance with Dr. Barrett, because she is not supposed to have, yes? But really at heart, she's fun, lovely. And she is a doting mother. Her son, Matthew, and daughter, Christina, I know, mean the world to her. But she has really been determined, and at the end of the day, I'm so proud of you. You have done it, and I want to congratulate you. And I want to ask the audience to put their hands together with a rousing applause. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Andrea Barrett, author, and my good friend, my sister. Keep it going until she gets up here, because the team needs to put on one hand, which will be a home and a warrior. Ladies and gentlemen. Marry, I won't date our relationship. Like Leighton says, and they would say, from the eye down the knee, we have known each other. Yeah, people, we're friends, but we're sister friends. And I wondered who she was talking about, but she was talking here, but you know, I'm reminded that I'm the author of this book. And it's indeed an emotional moment for me, ladies and gentlemen. You know, they talk about COVID and all the bad things COVID brought to us. But I'm here to say that this book was one of the output and the good output of COVID. And so, you may ask, what inspired this book? And it really began shortly after I returned to Jamaica in 2014, after spending 20 years in the US working at the World Bank, IDB, USAID. And a little bit of an offshoot from my dissertation, which was really entitled National Innovation Policy. And it was inspired by my supervisors at the University of Maryland, University College, where we were asked, we're a cohort of about 25 students. Myself and another young lady, I think she was from Indiana, were the only two Black females in the program. And everyone was talking about, you know, the developed world. And I remember in one of the papers we were doing, a research paper, everybody was looking at, you know, the European countries, the G20s and, you know, G7. Nobody was really looking and talking about the Caribbean and more so even some of the other developing countries. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take this on. So I started looking at small island developing states of her own. I'm from the Caribbean, yeah, from Jamaica, Caribbean. But then, and in discussing the title of this book with Dr. Ivy, as Marlene said, I had many tearful nights in her bed, in her arms, not in her arms, but you know. Yes, I have a lot of clarifications later. So, if anybody who knows me well, most Friday evenings, I pack my bags and I'm off to Montego Bay. That's where the family is from originally. But most of the time I would end up in Marlene's bed. Not her bed, in one of and of course, we talk about many things, inclusive of the birth and the gestation of this book. And of course, a very long gestation. I birthed, well, 3 children, 2 alive. Matthew is here, my son, my elder of the 2. And this book was a bigger gestation. I won't tell you more than the elephant that my good friend Leighton spoke about. But innovation process is a continuum. And Dr. Deslandes spoke about the various sectors which innovation can be applied to. And in the book, I spoke about sectoral, systems of innovation, but more so sectoral systems of innovation for strategic sectors in the marketplace. So sectors like tourism, health, education, manufacturing. And I just stop there, but those are not the only ones. But the developing states, those are some of the key pillar sectors. And because of my role and my background in development, having worked at the World Bank, the IDB, and USAID, which are the international arms of international or development across the world, I have a special passion for innovation in developing countries. And as I mentioned, when Dr. Aggie and I were trying to type the book, and we started out saying small island development state, but then we realized the small thing not going to work. And so it was then titled Developing States. And I really, I'm a little amazed. Dr. Deslandes came to my home on Sunday night, late Sunday night, not too late, he came really good time. No. But he clearly read the book. Yeah, because even some of the areas that he highlighted as being important. And so when he was talking, I was going to give you snippets of the book, but then I said, I don't need to because he has already done it. So thank you, Dr. Deslandes, for making such, not only did you do a good job, but you might love doing it. So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want this to be like another lecture, after all you came here just to celebrate with me, and I'm very happy. And I see one of my dear cousins who is also faculty here. I forgot, Mel Cook, Mel, we all grow up, and the Cook family is really represented here. And I'm very, very happy to see the turnout of the family. Yeah. Mary, Uncle Alice, we've been grown up, we're not to disobey families. So Uncle Alice is here to come and sit beside you. So please. So, ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to get a copy of the book. And it's not about sales, because really, I'm not making any money from this, really. There was it was a labor of love. And it's really about sharing and disseminating the information, to share some of the things that we ought to be thinking about as we really think about the development of not only of our country, Jamaica, but of the Caribbean, and the force that we can be, like some of the Asian tigers, the European countries, the Caribbean region. We are a region that have such great potential, and we have been displaying that potential in little snippets all across the various areas. And in particular, one of the major 17 sustainable development goals talking about food safety and security. And if we should take a look at some of the food industry within the Caribbean, not to mention us here in Jamaica, the variety of fruits, the flora, the fauna that we have here is something that certainly we can develop so many different industries, not only for us here in Jamaica, but to the Caribbean and for export to the world at large. Our products are in great demand. I've seen it in when I travel sometime. And so I'm not going to say too much more about the book. I think you had a good overview from Dr. Deslandes. But just to invite you to pick up a copy. It's only $4,000. And as my good friend Leighton said, you get my autograph free of cost. And I think not, I forgot my glasses, didn't wear them. Marlene will get at me for that. I think I see in the audience, Dr. Clark, am I seeing Dr. Philbert Clark, who contributed a chapter in the book. And so, thank you for coming, Dr. Clark. I know it was a stretch for you. And he spoke in the chapter about the importance of the firm, an innovative firm in a particular industry cluster, but also throughout the Caribbean region. I think he brought a very, very good perspective on innovative firms and the importance of innovative firms in the Caribbean. So without further ado, I will just make it a little more conversational and step away from this microphone and maybe take any particular questions that you may have on your minds. And after which we'll resume to the formalities.
Any questions, comments?
Go ahead.
Dr. Maraj. Dr. Maraj has a
Dr. Barrett, this is not a question, but it's a mere commendation. I really want to thank you very much on behalf of this country, Jamaica, our university, the University of Technology, Jamaica, and academia in general for the birth of this book. I listened to the presentations, the introduction, and also to Dr. Deslandes' analysis of the text narrative in the book. And I sat here and I said, what richness, what word of wealth. And for that, I truly commend you. Innovation policy formulation, that's what we need now. Socioeconomic transformation of developing states, including Jamaica, that's where we are now. That's where we need to go. We're not there as yet, but that's where we need to go. And so I have not yet purchased the book. I'll be doing so tonight before I leave, and I'll definitely be reading the narratives, your story. Okay. I also, it is very interesting that Dr. Deslandes could have used the examples in the tourism industry, and that's who I am. Right, to relate to your book or to relate your book to the tourism industry. And I'm thinking here that maybe, there could be collaboration to have a second book looking at that area. All right, so congratulations again, and all of our guests with this scholarship and continue for that country.
Sorry for giving it a thought. Was there any chapter in particular that was super challenging or kind of through your road?
And interestingly, would take my son to ask such a question. And I interestingly, well, he's 20 years old, right? And I started doing my doctoral program the very day he turned 2. and I finished my doctoral programs when he turned, I think 7, Matthew? Yeah, possibly. So yes, back to his question. The most challenging chapter was when he was a baby. So So, the chapter that would be most challenging was the chapter 2, the conceptual chapter on theoretical constructs of innovation. Does that answer your question? And by the way, though he's my son, he told me, and I believe him, that he bought many copies and distributed it at his campus to both his university professors and his friends at Kent State University, where he studied cybersecurity.
Okay, Dr. Barrett, we are understand another question again, but commendation. We're very proud of you. And we know it's labor of love, as we said. And the birth of this book and the contribution to academia. We at the school, if you don't know school, as you know, we'll be having this as a recommended for our students as we go through, because we think this is a beautiful gift to us. So congratulations on your work. I know you spent a lot of time on it, but it's here. So congratulations.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I may just add that Mr. Graham Haynes is the head of school, Duncan School of Entrepreneurship, Ethics, and Leadership, and he has supported Dr. Barrett every way possible, including sponsorship for this activity.
Thank you so much. You know, I too rise to extend commendation to Dr. Barrett. I couldn't miss this occasion, anything. Dr. Barrett is actually one of my doctoral supervisors. And I tell you, when I listened to the guest speaker earlier speaking about the book, and I'm saying, that's the person I know, in-depth work that would have been put in that book. I'm inspired now. Congratulations to you.
Oh, thank you. I'm speaking it into being, Dr. Hunter. Dr. Hunter is one of my first doctoral students, really. And what a gem it was. I co-mentored and co-supervised with Professor Andrew Spencer, who apologized for not being here tonight because he did some surgical procedures. But I really thank Mr. Hunter, Dr. Hunter, because he's a DBA candidate. He has, I think he has submitted his dissertation, and what is stellar work. You know, he was very, very easy to work with. And as Dr. Deslandes was saying, I actually was invited by University of Lesotho in Zambia, where I have a doctoral student who's looking at dairy farming in one of the districts in Zambia. And I've been asked to look and to contribute to innovative, some comment on the innovative programs. So it's been a journey, very rewarding journey. And the production of this book also, you know, is as a result of lots and lots of encouragement from many, many family members and friends. And they know themselves, they're very much present in the audience. And, you know, I'll continue to work very hard at this. My students who are here, I thank you for coming out to support. They keep asking me, Miss, are we going to get some extra bonus points? I'll consider it. Although I thought I saw the PD here, so I have to be very cautious how I say that. But anyway, thanks for coming, and I'll turn that back over to the chairman.
Yeah, man, let's hear it again for esteemed author. Really. When Rev started out, he spoke about Bob Marley and you know, I just can't see Andrea saying like chronics, you know, when I look at where I'm coming from. I know I'm blessed. Close my eyes and she's in Babylon. I've done my best. You can sing that song. Yeah. And incidentally, Dr. Ivy, I think they're right a book, but there's some what I hear send back. You sound like you're stressed. We did manuscript and send it back and send back. It's a good thing we have Marley in bed. Oh no, one of Marley's bed. One of Marley's upset. What Marley knows, because she has school challenge quiz master. The first answer we accept. And she said Marley in bed. Right? And that's what we accept, right? So remember that come and suppose are gone. And you know, man, I hear you have a book coming out, my scoop is ready, I'm told, Dancehall Business Control Jamaica. Yes. So look out, stay tuned. That's on the horizon. But yes, Andrea, thank you again and coming, you know, and coming back to Jamaica. As the dancehall people would say, when we check it out, no one better than here. And Josie would say, sweet Jamaica, nah left here. Aki and Starfish, we nah left here. Anyway, before we have a short time left, and we have the book cover to unveil. So we're gonna ask the author, the over, along with the unveilers. Yes.
So, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. We want to unveil a verse of the book, and afterwards, at the end, are inviting you to autograph the cover, sign, or wishes for Dr. Barrett. So, Dr. Barrett. So, halfway there. And this is what first innovation policy for socioeconomic development of development.
Another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. Thank you and congratulations again. And when Andrea said Montego Bay, it wasn't called Montego Bay, but we leave that alone. As she used to have taken Yeah. Super bus stop together. And that bus was running to Montego Bay. It was running out of Montego. But you know, Mobile people, anyway, they come around and say it's Mobile, right? So Mobile is the place that's engine, right? That's how I'm saying how it. Right, Mary? Yes. And you were with a long day, right? Yeah. But I'm on to go this. Yeah. So anyway, without further ado, I'm pushing because we need to get out there. So we have a young man from State University. We use him as a book by our book and as give to his lecture and all of that. So let's welcome the son of the author, Matthew, to come and read the book. So much.
Thank you, Mr. Leighton. actually, Mr. With your permission, while protocols observed. Good. I kind of want to keep it short after I'm done. Let's me bring up the food and stuff. Good evening. Grammy Award winning artiste, Coffee says, gratitude is on us. And I have the pleasure of expressing gratitude on behalf of the author and my mother, Dr. Andrea Barrett. She's been a big inspiration to both my sister and I, and we both hope to achieve the same level of success that she has. So before I go off and acknowledge all of who've given their contributions, I just want to tell everyone that I'm very, very, very proud of my mother. And so with all the hard work and sacrifices, we're here now celebrating the launch of Dr. Andrea Barrett's book. And well, first I want to give a big thanks to the Minister of Education, Dr. David Williams, and as well as a big thanks to Reverend McKnight. I'm really bad with names. All right, who invited? With his words, he invoked the Holy Spirit amongst us all in this gathering. So I really appreciate him coming up from Montego Bay. His words are really felt. Special appreciation to Dr. Paul Ivy and the employees at SGSRE who worked diligently with UTech Jamaica Press to make this publication possible and to help plan this event. As well as the guest speaker, Dr. Derrick Deslandes, for your presentation. It was those words are especially going to sit with me as someone who's learning about data analytics, someone who's working in data analytics. The words are going to rest in my mind, and I'm sure they're going to rest in the minds of everyone here. Big thank you to him. As well as a big thank you to my Aunt Marlene, Dr. Marlene, or Marlene Stevenson Dowd. I think she summed up my mom pretty well, and she a big thanks to her because she gave a lot of insight on her academic achievements. And of course, to me and my sister, she's just mom, which by the way, that's raising us, that might have been like 100 times more stressful than writing this book. So big up for that one, man, the stuff I've done. I don't want to say anything that's gonna embarrass me. And as well as the academic community, both here at UTech Jamaica and as well as the people from tertiary institutions. Thank you for being here. Your being here kind of sets the precedent and lets us know that you're in pursuit of knowledge acquisition. And I appreciate you all for coming. And this work that my mother and all the other contributors pulled off is no doubt it's going to contribute to the discourse as it relates to innovation within developing countries. So big thank you to them. As well as friends, family, and the like that have come here, taking the time out of their day to come celebrate this big moment for